Go ahead, PJ.
Okay. Hi, Adia.
Hi.
We have to start with, you missed 3 games. Can you?
Don't
sort of
remind
just-
me it's a sore spot, please. It's
you
like,
just-
oh.
Can you describe what it was like to go through that, to find out that there was a case and that you'd have to, miss a few games and all the things that evolved from that?
Well, it's funny because our team was like doing so well. And it was affecting everybody, but it wasn't affecting us. So I was like, oh, we're doing so well, we'll be fine. So you know it's gonna happen, but you're not prepared for it. So I think the hardest part for me was like we're all fine 1 second, then like the next, so we had a game on Friday, everybody's fine. Because remember, we test every day. So then we do PCRs and an antigen test like a couple days before. So the travel party does that every week. And so we were all fine on the game day. And then the next day at practice, boom, like, someone tested positive. So then at that point, what they do is they contact trace. And then I was amongst one of the people contact traced, from the game before. And then it just wiped me out. So I think the first thing was, is that person okay? And that person was okay. The second thing was from my standpoint, like I have kids. So like just, the fact that I have a baby and just I was scared that, we could potentially get COVID. So, I was quarantining in my house and we had a mask on, like myself, and I had to sleep with masks the first couple of days because she sleeps in our room. So it was just really scary for like, I'd say 5 or 6 days straight, like not knowing if I'm going to catch COVID. And, I was in close contact for a long period of time. We always are masked, but it's like, I think sometimes in games, it's hard not to be in, close contact with a lot of people. So it was just really scary. Like one of the hardest weeks of our careers.
Jay, go ahead.
So from a basketball standpoint, just talk to us a little bit about, how that, what you guys did basketball wise. I'm assuming the team still practiced somehow. Can you just fill us in on, what was the process with the team?
It was more lifting and like some team shooting. It wasn't really extensive, obviously, because we're not there. So all the staff were wiped. All the coaching staff was wiped out. So a lot of stuff in the weight room, a heavier week. So the girls probably weren't too happy about that because they lifted really heavy because we had a long time. We had a couple weeks before a game. And then for us, it was just a waiting game. So I think the players were really worried. I think they were worried, like, what's going to happen? Like, am I going to catch COVID? So they were texting me every day because, I have a 4-month-old. So I think it was just, they were concerned. Not one player was angry. Not one player. I think they were disappointed, just like I was, because 3 games, I never anticipated that. And for those of you that don't know, in a normal situation, like if it was Arizona CDC, we would have been able to play. So the Sunday Colorado game was canceled. And our protocol in Arizona, the state of Arizona, is a 7-day quarantine. Well, we were supposed to go to the LAs and we would have been able to play in LAs, but their county, rules are 10 days. So then that's why we couldn't play there. It doesn't go off our county, which I thought it would. It goes off there. So I think the players were just disappointed. They definitely got better. They definitely got a lot of shots up that week. So that was a positive thing. But I think it was just scared for us, to be honest.
Troy, go ahead.
So in the statement that was posted out, the games being postponed and whatnot. Oh, yeah, you can hear me. Sorry. The games being postponed and whatnot. What are the plans to make up those games at the end? Are there plans? Are you still trying to work that out?
Well, we're still trying to work that out because, when, we talked to the UCLA, it didn't make sense because we wouldn't be able to play till like Wednesday or Thursday. So, because people don't realize, let's say you're cleared on a Sunday, you can't just go play on Monday. You have to have a couple of days of practice. So it's just the timing of stuff now is hard because now we play again Friday. We play again Monday. So I don't want to schedule a game next week for like Wednesday because we'll play Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I think it's just figuring out the time. Yes, I want to make up every single game. But I think, our conference is probably going to try to work something out where we do it at the end of the year. I think our game against UCLA will probably be on that makeup weekend. You remember the weekend that we play our rival team at the very end? But I just don't know if we're going to be able to make up all the rest of the games. We're going to for sure try. And we've seen Stanford do a little bit of that. Like they were at Washington State. They stayed one more game. When Washington comes here, I'm going to ask to see if they want to stay one more game. But I don't know how much people are going to want to make up our games. So I think there's a little bit of that because it has to be mutually agreed upon. So we'll see. But I mean, it hurt us because we were in first place. And then, as far as like games played, so not even like, first place, but, now we're behind a game. So that's just the unfortunate part. But that's just the COVID. I mean, I'm just blessed that the Pac-12 is doing everything we can, keeping us safe, and we're able to play because it really hadn't affected us until now.
PJ, go ahead.
Sure. You know, with COVID, it was sort of inevitable that it's hit just about probably every team now in the Pac-12, and it was inevitable that was going to happen. Does it seem like it may be sort of a blessing in disguise, not for the person who got it, but for as long as you guys were most likely going to have to sit out a few games because of this? It hit at a time when, you're heading into February when in a typical season, let's face it, that's when you get tired. That's when nagging injuries might hit you. And that somehow you have to find that second wind.
Yeah, I don't think it's a blessing in disguise for sure. I just think because I think our players have done such a good job. Not one player has caught COVID. So I think that's also a little bit of luck for sure, because the way 1 in 5 Arizonians have it. So that's luck. But our players are also really smart and they want to play and they're doing whatever they can. So I think we've been fortunate in that sense, because most of the time it has affected everybody. I don't think it's a blessing, obviously, but I do because I'm a little bit more negative about it because I'm upset about missing the games. But I think that if I'm looking at, could there be a better timing? Probably not. But I think that the reason why it's a little bit tough timing, we were just starting to play better. Like we were starting to click a little bit more. We were kind of rolling. So that's why I don't like the timing of it, but I'd rather it now than at the end of February or in March for sure. And I do think it was a time for our players to get some rest mentally and physically. But then it's like, look what happened on Sunday for Oregon and Utah. Like that game got canceled. So then part of me is like, okay, are they going to have 3 games canceled also? Are we going to play next Monday? And as of now, we are, but that's the worry too, because you don't want to have a situation like Oregon State where you end up being out 21 days. I think it really hurts your momentum. So the timing is probably good in that sense, but the bad thing is I really feel like we had winnable games. So I think that, and it was going to be a really good game between us and UCLA, which is a good game for women's basketball. So in that sense, I'm not that happy about it.
And what do you think that, like perspective now of what, that you've sort of gained from this and maybe that your players have gained, because it's a big thing to all of a sudden have games taken away from you.
Yeah, so I think the thing for me is don't trust anybody. Assume everybody has COVID. Don't stay within 6 feet of anyone. So no one's coming near me because I need to coach my team. So I think it's natural in your circle, even amongst the players. I was a little bit closer to the players because we're testing every day. Sometimes an occasional hug or because like that's who I am. And now I think I'm teaching them and learning myself, like, you can't let your guard down because, I felt like in a sense for me personally, and I hate to say this, I felt like I let the team down. It wasn't my fault that someone caught COVID at all. But it was my fault that I let someone within 6 feet of me, because if I wouldn't wiped out, I would have been able to coach the team. So I was disappointed. I kind of blamed myself in that sense so the way that I can adjust to that, I can make the adjustment and don't come within 6 feet of me at any time for anything. If you drop something, yes, but not more than the 10 minutes a day. And we have our little chips and they beep every time you're within 6 feet of me or a player. So if Adam's like within 6 feet of a player, beep, 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 beep so much it annoys you. But what it does is it makes you step back. And I'm sad that I didn't do that the whole time. I didn't think we ever needed it because we were so good at it. But I think this has made us even better. And the main thing is for us to be healthy and for my players and myself not to be wiped out, because if I wouldn't have been wiped out, I could have coached a team by myself if I had to. But the point is they would be playing. So that's the learning lesson. And I hate to feel that way, but I don't trust anybody because I think it's normal because you don't know, and it's no one's fault. Like, our director of operations, Jessica, I'm around a lot. I'm around her a lot. Maybe she goes to the store and catches it. You don't know. Maybe she catches it in McHale. I don't know, but I can control my distance with people and I can control that part. So that's the part I'm going to control. And, and it's hard when you're a person that is like a communicator and, and likes interactions. I think that's been a challenge for me. If I was mean, I'd be like, stay away from me all the time. But a person I also ask advice from is Tara. Because if you watch Tara, Tara is not near anybody. She is, she had a situation here at Arizona where she had she had 4 staff members wiped out and she wasn't wiped out, if you guys remember that. So I learned that I talked to her and I said, well, I asked her about a couple situations. I'm like, how do you navigate that? And she talked to me about it. And like if I listen to one person, that's someone I really listen to.
Jason, go ahead.
Hi, Coach Adia.
Hi.
Jason Barr with KGUN 9. Some exciting news. We're doing a half-hour digital special on the rise of the Arizona women's basketball program to air in mid-March.
Awesome, thank you.
That's the good news. The bad news is I've got to ask you a couple questions each week that you've already answered in the past.
That's
So
okay.
I remember you saying a few years ago that when you took the job, you were advised against it. I don't need to know who advised you, but do you remember what they said and what were some of the arguments about maybe not even taking this job when it was offered?
Yeah, so what I can tell you, one of the people that told me not to take the job because it wasn't a good job was Nancy Darsh, and rest in peace, Nancy Darsh, but mentor, someone I looked up to. Another person that actually told me, Lynn Dunn. Lynn Dunn is, a Hall of Fame coach. She was my WNBA coach. She just didn't think at the time Arizona was a good job. And I listened to her and I do, but I just knew a little bit more just because I played here. But I don't think it was one of the best jobs in America at that time. So I think just people that care about me gave me the opinion. But I think that it had been struggling for so long. So I think that people that looked out for me advised me not to take it because it was going to be very hard to turn it around. It was going to take a very long time. And if you look at most coaching jobs, you don't have 10 years to turn a program around. You sign a 5-year contract. So I think my friend's worries was, if you take that, you don't do success. If you're not successful, you're not going to probably get another opportunity. Because that's and I just said, okay. So I bet on me and I bet on what I felt and just went for it. And I think just got lucky.
Did you have to wrestle with the decision at all, or were you confident that you were making the right one?
No, I had to wrestle with the decision initially because I didn't, when I'm hearing like my friends that are Hall of Famers that have won like 1,000 more games than I have, that care and that know the business, it really made me second guess. I knew I wanted to be a head coach one day, but I wasn't like dying to be a head coach at that time. I just had a 7-month baby. So I wasn't like looking for a head coaching job. So I did go back and forth a little bit, but then I met, Greg at the time, and then I saw the potential here, and I thought of the reasons why I chose Arizona, and so that's why I chose it twice. But I was scared, and I was a little hesitant at first, and then I said, go for it, like bet on me, do your best, and everything ends up working out.
And last one for this week, what do you remember from that day, that introductory news conference with, I guess Greg Burton introduced you. I don't actually remember, so I want to know what you remember from that day.
Well, so if you rewind right before that, I took the job before we went to the Final Four. So we were at the Final Four. I knew I was taking the job. I just didn't know when I was announcing and when I was getting down to Arizona for a press conference. So right after we lost against Syracuse in the Final Four, it was like I had to tell the team. So I actually told the team the next morning, and then had to fly back with my team from Indianapolis to Washington, which was like the longest flight ever because the players that recruited were crying. It was like devastating trip. And I actually wanted to tell them when we got to Washington. I didn't want to tell them before we left Indianapolis, but I was advised to do that. And then so right when I got to Washington, it was like a whirlwind for 24 hours. The next day I was on a flight to Arizona. So I remember it was so fast. It was like, boom, boom, get back, get back. And then the next day, Greg Byrne and the executive staff picked me up on a plane in Arizona. And I remember when I first got to Washington, well, I had coached at Washington for so long. I didn't have a dark blue suit. So I had to like rush to a store that was open, get it the night before, and like go, So then I remember I used Phoebe Chalk gave me like some jewelry that was Arizona, and I didn't have anything because it was so fast. And then I remember just walking in, meeting the team. Obviously, I was nervous at first, and then and it just everything was so fast. I was excited though. Some familiar faces. I know Sean came to the press conference, and some other people, but super excited about just the whole opportunity.
Thanks so much. I won't take up any more time. I'll talk to you next week about the recruiting of Kate Reese. So,
Oh, sure. Okay.
okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, Jay.
So first of all, how many practices have you been able to have then since you guys got back on the court, and how did they look?
Sunday, I'm trying to think. Tuesday. So I think 3. So no, they looked good. I think it was just a little bit rested, and I think they were just really excited to have us back. So I know when they got back, normally they would probably hug and stuff because COVID we don't. So I think they were just excited and like I think just relieved that we weren't going to be on pause or something like that. But they looked good. I think that in the hindsight, this could have been just a good time for team bonding. They got to spend some more time together. They got to shoot together with partners, and so I think it could be a time where it kind of reset us a little bit. And also it made us not relax with the COVID situation. So it made us all, like take a step back and say, okay, we got to be really careful because, we're still in the middle of this and we're actually in the worst time with COVID. So I think it kind of was a reality check for all the players and myself.
So Oregon and Oregon State, I mean, they're not, that's a tough trip. Do you feel like you can get to where you need to get to be ready for that trip?
Yeah, I do. I just think if we would have played the LAs in Colorado, I feel like we would have had hopefully a couple of more wins if we could have won those games. I think it would have just had a little bit less pressure for this Oregon trip. I don't think there's a tremendous amount of pressure, but it's a very difficult trip. It'll be very difficult to go there and get a sweep. Are we capable? No doubt. But, it's going to be hard. They're both really good teams. They're both playing a lot better and have added some pieces since we played them. So I think it's going to be hard. And the other thing the only disadvantage, which I don't like about the COVID situation, for example, Oregon is not playing on Friday. So they're not playing against ASU. So they get to prepare for us all week and they're going to be very rested when we play, and we play Friday. They don't play. So that's the hard thing about COVID. I think that hurt some other teams if you look around the conference when one opponent got to sit at home and prepare for the next one and didn't play the Friday. And we saw that in LA last week. We didn't play. ASU went to play USC or UCLA, tight game, really tough game, and then had a really tough time because USC was nice and rested and waited all week. So we'll be in that same situation this weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
PJ, go ahead.
Sure. Today is National Girl and Women in Sports Day, and I know that you, typically, you use your platform and every day to advance girls and women in sports. And does it mean more to you now that you have a baby girl?
She's so young, so I think it doesn't mean more now yet. I think it will later when she's playing sports. I think why it means more to me now is because I'm a coach. So I look at my life, and I did this morning when I was tweeting about it. So I look at my life and I look at what sports did for me. I look at the opportunities it created. I look at 50, 60 years ago, people didn't have these opportunities. And then I've been to 40 countries. I've lived in 8 different countries. I'm a different woman, person, mother because of my experiences, and it's all been through basketball. I look at, being able to work and play basketball as a living, get paid for it was an amazing opportunity. And then to turn around and be a coach, and then now to reach back and mentor other young women, I think it's a blessing. It doesn't feel like a job. So this day's more important to me because of those things. And so we're able to impact. And I look at all my friends in the WNBA. I had a long talk with Sue Bird the other day, and look at the impact she's had just on people's rights and social justice. And look at all the great work that the WNBA did. They had a voice. and for the voiceless. And I think that those things I'm proud of. I see my friends doing wonderful things, and I'm able to look at just all the things we've done through our platform. And I think it makes me proud, and there's so much more to do. But I think that I love the fact that I can impact the women I coach. And that's one of the reasons why I coach. I don't coach for the money. I don't coach for like fame, because I'm not famous by any means. I coach to help women. I coach because I love basketball. I coach because basketball has changed my life, and it's brought me to so many like wonderful things. And it's taught me all of my most important life lessons. So I just think, it's not a job. So I love today. I think it's a very important day on so many levels.
Any other questions for Coach Barnes? All right, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Sam. Can you just kind of take us through what this last week was like when you had 3 games get canceled, and kind of what your thought process was during that, and what you did during that time to kind of stay active, and so that this week you're prepared?
Yeah, it was definitely disappointing not being able to play, especially when I think we were like tied for the first in the pack, or in the first, and then we had those 3-game cancellations. So it was definitely rough on us. We definitely wanted to play, especially against a team like UCLA, who were like in the running with top 4. But I mean, we got better this past week. We lifted weights, got a lot stronger. So hopefully we'll see that in the next couple of games. And then we also just tried to get up as much shots as possible, just be ready for people if they play us in the zone or anything like that.
And when you found out that someone had tested positive, I mean, what was your reaction? Adia said a lot of the players were worried for her just because she has a newborn child.
Yeah, I mean, whenever someone tests positive, like around us, you always got to worry because, Dia has kids at home, especially the newborn. So we always want to like worry about her, make sure she's staying safe. But I mean, it's definitely it's scary times when people test positive. Obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's getting better, though, hopefully with the vaccines coming out. But we're just trying to stay safe, follow the protocols, and hopefully continue our season.
TJ?
Hi, Sam. So, when you go through something like this, and it was bound to somehow affect your program, it's affecting everybody, right? So numbers are figured that at some point it would hit you guys in some way. What's sort of your big picture? Did it change any of your perspective or your point of view or anything this week? Did you step back and think about something a little bit more, or do you think it, maybe it brought you guys closer together, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely stayed strong as a team, not being able to play games. Some people took it harder than others. So just being there for one another. And then obviously another thing is not taking anything for granted, not taking any practices, weightliftings, film sessions, games, anything for granted, because you never know when it could get canceled. And it's a lot of people's last season, like myself. So it's kind of hard when games get canceled. So you just got to try and just move on and focus on the positives.
Do you think it was a little bit of I know you guys were getting on a roll, but do you also think it's the beginning of February and maybe it helps you reset to get that second win to push you through February till you get to postseason?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously want to play as much games as possible. We don't want any games canceled, but I mean, we are starting the second half of the pack. We're repeating playing teams. So, I mean, we got a little break, not that we asked for it or really wanted it, but I mean, we were able to freshen our legs up and get a little rest in and prepare for the teams we have coming up.
You guys have anything else for Sam?
I do. My hand thing doesn't work. Sam, Adia talked a little bit about how now she's even more careful about, being close to people and that sort of thing. How does this affect you in that regard?
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the little trackers that we have, and we talked about how we turn the sounds off. Well, now the sounds are on. So if anyone walks near our practice, you'll just hear beeping sometimes. We're all trying to stay in our own little bubble so we don't have anything like this happen again. So we're all just trying to keep our distance at a healthy way and follow all the protocols.
Jason?
Yeah, hi, Sam. Did Adia recruit you? Can you help me with the timing of that? Did she recruit you? And do you remember your reaction when she got hired, or were you recruited by the previous coaching staff? Can you refresh my memory, please?
Yeah, I was recruited by Adia. I came her second season, so I think I was her first recruiting class. And so before I just moved to the West Coast, so I didn't really know much about West Coast schools, so I didn't really follow Arizona. But my AAU coach kind of put me in contact with Adia, and so once we kind of talked, I kind of felt that family aspect from her. So that's why I decided to commit to Arizona and take a leap of faith.
What was it about her personality that drew her to you?
She was just very honest. She told me like all the good things that she wants to work on. She told me the team wasn't going to be like a top 25 team. I knew that coming in, it wasn't a surprise. So I just like the honesty and how she really like cared about me as a person first. And she obviously played at Arizona too. So, I mean, that's a great connection.
Thank you.
Brian?
When you committed to Arizona, did you get any kind of weird reactions, or people are like, oh, why are you going there? Just because the program had been struggling for so long?
People, I mean, they had their opinions about it, especially because I used to be from the Midwest. And so all my family and friends wanted me to go there. So when I decided to come to Arizona, it was kind of like a little shock. They weren't mad at me or anything, but I mean, they were definitely just like trying to support me as much as they could. They obviously wanted to be able to watch every single one of my games, but they're happy for me now and they really like it, especially now that some of our games are on ESPN.
TJ?
Yeah, and as a senior leader, how did you help, your other teammates, the underclassmen, the freshmen and the sophomores sort of take this in stride and not let it get too big? That you guys didn't play your last 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely just have to keep like a positive mindset. Obviously, no one's been through this before, I feel like. So we're all just trying to going through this together in life. So, I mean, as a senior, it's kind of new for me too, because I've never had a game canceled like this. But I mean, we just tried to stay together, keep in contact every day when we see each other in weights or extra shooting, just try and motivate each other to keep going, because we do have a lot of season left to play, hopefully. So we need to prepare for those games.
And were you one of them, along probably with Kate or an area, of course, who said to the other one, come on, we got to do this. We got to keep in condition. We got to keep going. Because somebody else might think, I don't know, but they might think like, oh, now we've got a couple days off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of the big things, is like we had to realize like these are not off days. We have to stay in shape. It takes like 2 off days to be out of condition. So we just try to keep our conditioning and get our shots right. So we stayed consistent and wouldn't feel like a drop off for when we play these next coming games.
I hadn't heard of these computer chips. Could you just say that again? Dia was talking about it too. Where are they located on your clothing? Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so for practices, we usually just shove them in our socks. But then for games, our equipment manager actually made like a little pocket in our pants. So they're right in the waist belt, and we just slide them in for during games. And then they blink green when you're like safe, you're clear, you're 6 feet away from people. And then when you're closer, they're red. And now ours start to beep when we're too close to people.
Wait, but you're not going to be wearing these during a game though. Yes,
we will. They won't make the sounds during a game, but we do wear them during a game just in case someone from the team we're playing, or even one of us, like comes in contact or, gosh forbid, catches COVID. We're able to track like how close we were with them for how long. So then we can do like if it's 15 minutes less or more, like how high at risk we are.
Okay, and when did this start exactly?
I believe the beginning of the Pac-12 season, we got the chip, so we've been wearing them ever since.
Okay, and do you your feeling on it?
What was that?
What's your feeling on it? Is it a good thing? Is it a necessary evil? I mean, what's the whole?
It's definitely a good thing. It has helped us a lot. We've remained safe because of them. I feel like they've helped us. Our trainers look at them all the time. The other team's trainers look at them. So it's really helpful for us. And like when we're standing in practice, like our trainer can see if we're standing too close to each other for a certain time or close to staff members. So we just space out a little bit, especially when we're waiting in lines during practice.
And last question, do you know of any other teams at the U of A that are using these?
I believe football is using them too now for their practices.
Okay.
In the future for next season.
Okay, I'll double check that. Thank you, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Brian?
What do you just see as the keys to beating Oregon State and Oregon this weekend? Well, so I guess we could just start with Oregon State first.
Yeah, it's definitely two different teams. I think for Oregon State, we just have to focus on us. Oregon State's definitely a team that likes to run through the offense, go through the entire shot clock, and then get a good shot, and obviously shoot a lot of threes. So I think we just have to play within ourselves and kind of keep our game plan. And then for Oregon, we just have to try and come out like we did last time. Obviously, it's going to be hard to keep two of their starters to 0 points. So we have to just kind of find other ways to win, be physical with them, to try and pressure them again like we did this last game.
And what do you think about those? Those are normally they have the biggest crowd, two of the biggest crowds in the Pac-12 other than yours. I mean, what do you think it's going to be like now? Or how much different is it playing in those environments when there are no fans there? I mean, do you think it's a big advantage for the road team?
I mean, yeah, it definitely helps. It's gonna be nice not going there and having like 10,000 fans screaming at you. No, they're all nice, but I think it's kind of nicer on the road games when there's no fans, because then it's just you and the other team. It doesn't feel like a home game, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it's a disadvantage for you. But hopefully we kind of want those fans back, hopefully soon or next season.
PJ?
And what was it like for you when it was it was game day and you couldn't go through your normal preparations and then play a game? What did you do? Did you sort of go through withdrawals because that's what you were supposed to do on Sunday and then last Friday and last Sunday, for each of those games?
Yeah, it was definitely weird. Just being at home and seeing all the other teams playing, be like, oh, well, we were supposed to play with them. But anyway, we tried to kind of like mock if we had a game, like for the Sunday games, we kind of lifted a little bit earlier, tried to get in extra shots as a team a little bit earlier, like kind of during the time of game time, just so we can kind of keep with it a little bit. Obviously, for the Friday night games, we weren't going to come in at 7:00 at night, but we were just trying to like kind of like mock it a little bit, try and keep up like with everyone, I guess you could say.
Anything else for Sam? All right, thanks everybody. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.